and welcome back to the latest episode of the Silly Ghost channel. I'm your host, the Silly Ghost, and today I will be talking about celebrity worship culture. Now, what is it about certain people, whether if they're actors, musicians, or athletes, that make us as a society put them on a high pedestal and basically worship them to the point that they may as well be actual demigods? It can be for a whole host of reasons. It can just be that we simply admire their work and talent. We, the general public, always expect to be thoroughly satisfied with what we pay and hope to see in, say for example, a highly anticipated movie, or at a big concert, at a sports grand final. So if the actors who star in that highly anticipated movie give a great performance,
and I am Iron Man.
Singers who play and sing at that concert do a great job, or if certain sports players play a game to the best of their abilities,
Spot Martin's got it, and Dusty hooking. Oh, that's it. Oh yeah, that's the cream on the most beautiful cake.
it makes our fascination with and admiration for those people grow. This probably explains to a certain extent why we then freak out if we see any of these people out in public doing normal, everyday things. Other reasons could be that if that celebrity is an actor who's best known for playing this character in a movie or show that we really liked, so seeing that person with our own eyes outside of the screen can feel pretty exhilarating as well. Or we just like to stand and gawp at that person who is living this lifestyle that the vast majority of us can only dream of. But what about when that fascination and admiration becomes obsessive? For example, I really enjoy the John Wick movies, and I'll be the first one to say that if I ever saw Keanu Reeves out and about in public, if I don't outwardly freak out like a fanboy, I would most likely freeze up and internally freak out and not know what to say.
69, dudes!
On the whole, this would just be a pretty normal reaction to any kind of celebrity. But where it would become too much, though, would be if I obsessed over Keanu's personal life. Like, what does Keanu eat for breakfast? Or what's his daily routine and schedule? Where does he live? I essentially just become a stalker. Celebrities themselves are nothing new. Over the last couple of hundred years, there have always been individuals who are famous for X, Y, and Z. What has changed is the media and technology, which has allowed fans to better connect with celebrities and get a glimpse into their day-to-day lives.
Yo, what's up? Chris Pratt here. New episode of What's My Snack? Boom, 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 boom. Green juice. It's made out of swamp water, son. I don't know.
On one hand, it's been a great way for certain celebrities to promote themselves and gain a huge following, keeping themselves known and relevant. But on the other hand, it's allowed this crazy celebrity worship culture to flourish that is detrimental to everyone, fan and celebrity alike. Psychologists have coined the term celebrity worship syndrome as the best way to describe this phenomenon. To give it a proper definition, according to an article on Psychology Today, celebrity worship syndrome has been described as an obsessive addictive disorder where an individual becomes overly involved and interested, i.e. completely obsessed, with the details of the personal life of a celebrity. Any person who is in the public eye can be the object of a person's obsession. Research going all the way back to the early 2000s has identified 3 independent dimensions of celebrity worship. Placed on a continuum, these 3 dimensions are called the entertainment social dimension, the intense personal dimension, and the borderline pathological dimension. Starting with the first one, the entertainment social dimension relates to attitudes where individuals are attracted to a celebrity because of their perceived talent to entertain and to become a social focus of conversation with like-minded others. Going back to what I said earlier on how for most of us, we are simply fascinated by and admire the work and talent put in by celebrities of various types in order for us to be entertained and talk about. Within the continuum or spectrum or whatever you want to call it of celebrity worship, entertainment social dimension is the lowest, less extreme end that most of us are on. To give you an example, as an avid fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I really enjoyed Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark, aka Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
To the point where I cannot see anyone else playing Iron Man, and therefore myself and other like-minded fans can have nice conversations about how great RDJ's portrayal of the Tony Stark Iron Man character was. Same thing can be said about Hugh Jackman's portrayal as Wolverine. So therefore, in this dimension of celebrity worship, we heap praise upon celebrities purely on an entertainment basis, where we focus mainly on their work and talent rather than their personal lives. And now we move on to the intense personal dimension of celebrity worship syndrome, which relates to individuals that have intense and compulsive feelings about a celebrity. So that can be one where, for example, you see a bunch of Taylor Swift fangirls at a concert screaming and crying with intense joy, like, "Oh my God, Taylor, we love you! Oh my God, we love you, Taylor!" Or another example could be whenever Mr. Kanye, Slavery Was a Choice West, opens his mouth, some people would feel an intense, compulsive need to say, "Shut the fuck up, Kanye."
You hear about slavery for 400 years? For 400 years, that sounds like a choice.
And last but not least, there is the borderline pathological dimension of celebrity worship syndrome, which relates to individuals who display uncontrollable behaviours and fantasies about a celebrity. So an example of this could be where, say, some weird 30-year-old virgin has a collection of photos of Margot Robbie and does what he wishes with them.
Oh, that's nasty.
Or actually, I remember there was this case a few years back where Sandra Bullock came home to find this random guy in her house. Apparently he was some serial stalker who'd been following her for quite some time, so yeesh. But that's a really good example of the borderline pathological dimension of celebrity worship. According to the study that identified these three dimensions, titled A Clinical Interpretation of Attitudes and Behaviours Associated with Celebrity Worship, published in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, a correlation was found between the borderline pathological aspects of celebrity worship syndrome and poor mental health, and that the most celebrity-obsessed people often suffer high levels of disassociation and fantasy proneness. It went on to further summarise that of the 3,000 people who were examined for the study, only 1% demonstrated obsessional tendencies, around 10% displayed intense interest in celebrities, 14% said that they would make a special effort to read about their favourite celebrity, and the other 75% said that they don't take any interest in celebrities' lives. Generally, the vast majority of people will identify a favourite celebrity, but don't say they read about them or think about them all the time. Like most things, it's fine, as long as it doesn't take over your life. From a biological angle, the study also went on to say that evolutionary biologists say it's natural for humans to look up to individuals who receive attention because they've succeeded in a society. In prehistoric times, this would have meant respecting good hunters and elders, but as hunting is not now an essential skill and longevity is more widely achievable, these qualities are no longer revered. Instead, we look to celebrities whose fame and fortune we want to emulate. So all of this is nothing new. Society has always put individuals on a pedestal who, in terms of their talent, persona, and social status, we look up to for inspiration. What has changed, though, is the technology and media landscape, where we are now instantly connected to one another, especially through social media, and most especially through Instagram, which has given some people this perception of the ideal life, particularly if one follows a celebrity, where you get a bit of a glimpse into their life and think, well, my life is shit in comparison to theirs. A study published in the Journal of Behavioural Addictions, titled The Association of Celebrity Worship with Problematic Internet Use, Maladaptive Daydreaming, and Desire for Fame, it was concluded that internet use, combined with certain psychological characteristics, did indeed exacerbate obsessive celebrity worship. As I mentioned earlier in another video, what we see on Instagram is a curated highlight reel. So whilst it may seem as though the celebrities that we follow are living the dream, what we don't see, of course, or sometimes fail to acknowledge, is that celebrities have to put up with constant stalking by paparazzi and crazy fans whenever they go out in public. Their personal life becomes public, where any mistake they make is broadcast and sometimes blown out of proportion, and just the whole culture seems superficial and one where you're always fighting to stay relevant. Is that the kind of life any of us really want? Or most of us want? No, of course not. To conclude, and make sure that there's a point to this whole video, being in awe of a celebrity for either their movies, music, sporting talents, or even YouTube content is perfectly normal. However, as a result of our increasingly individualistic society, exacerbated by the media portraying the dream life of celebrities as something we should all aspire to, it's created this type of person who obsesses over an individual that they compare themselves to and wish to be like, which can then detrimentally impact self-esteem and mental health that has the potential to cause all sorts of issues in the long term. So not to sound like a cheesy motivational speaker, or one of those cunts who post inspirational quotes underneath their profiles, aspire to be the best person you can be, rather than aspire to be someone who you're not. Thank you very much. I'm your host, The Silly Ghost, signing out.